Hello everyone. Welcome back to our Role Models of Hope series. Today we step into the life of a man who turned what felt like pure magic into reality, Walt Disney. With nothing more than imagination, he tore down the walls of reality, gifting children across the world laughter and dreams, and giving adults the rare chance to hold on to eternal childhood wonder. Born into poverty, spending his youth with barely a penny to his name, who could have imagined that one day this young man would build an animation empire? Who could have believed he would breathe life into characters that once only lived in his sketches and create a kingdom, overflowing with dreams and wonder? His name forever carries titles like the father of Mickey Mouse, the pioneer of animation, and above all, the man who made dreams come true, like Madam C. J. Walker, who rose from the turmoil after slavery, and Charles Revson, who carved out a business from the depths of hardship. Walt Disney's life, too, was marked by relentless struggles and bitter failures. Banks turned him away. Newspapers mocked him, yet never once did he abandon his dream. His story is far more than a tale of success. It is living proof of the power of imagination, the resilience of courage, and the unstoppable fire of passion that drives us when we dare to risk everything for a dream. Once, he was just a hungry young man surviving on scraps of bread. But how did that same Walt Disney go on to build the Walt Disney Company, win 26 Academy Awards, and forever reshape the cultural landscape of the world? This magical journey we're about to follow might just awaken the forgotten dreams within your own heart and remind you that imagination is the most powerful weapon we have. Now let us step into the dreamlike journey of Walt Disney together. The year was 1901, in Chicago, one of America's great bustling cities. Somewhere in the back streets of this lively metropolis, a child was born who would one day gift dreams to children across the globe. His name was Walt Disney. The fourth of 5 siblings, his family soon moved to a farm near Marceline, Missouri. But unlike the fairy tales he would later create, Walt's own childhood was anything but magical. His father, Elias Disney, scraped by as a construction worker, farmer, even an orange grower. Yet no matter what he tried, the family remained trapped in relentless poverty. Their house was drafty and cold, their meals meager and scarce, teaching young Walt all too soon the harsh weight of reality. From an early age, poverty pushed Walt straight into the grind of survival. During his boyhood in Marceline and later in Kansas City, he endured backbreaking routines. At dawn, before the sun had even risen, he dashed through the streets delivering heavy bundles of newspapers. He dared not pause for fear of his father's scolding, and when the papers were done, there were still odd jobs waiting: washing cars, helping neighbors with chores, anything that might earn a few precious coins. In one interview, Walt even recalled how, after his father's bakery investment failed, he was left to deliver bread just to make ends meet. A warm bed and a table filled with food were luxuries he could only dream of. His body was constantly weary, his stomach often empty. Yet even amid exhaustion and hunger, there was one small refuge, one source of light that never failed him: drawing. With nothing more than a scrap of paper and a stub of pencil, young Walt could escape his hardships and step into a world of his own making. His very first customer was the family doctor next door. Walt drew a picture of the physician's sick horse, and in return earned his first small payment as an artist. From that moment, drawing was no longer just a hobby, it was his language, a way to understand and express the world around him. Though his teachers often worried about his constant daydreaming in class, when Walt set pencil to paper, he was the happiest child alive. Those precious moments freed him, if only briefly, from a harsh reality, planting deep within him the unshakable belief that imagination is the strongest weapon of all. His difficult childhood in Kansas City taught him one unforgettable truth: poverty can cage the body, but it can never imprison imagination. And it was here that the seeds of his extraordinary gift began to take root. Out of the harshest poverty, Walt's passion for drawing led him to the city of dreams, Kansas City. After dropping out of high school, he found work at an advertising company, sharpening his artistic skills. For him, a sketchbook and pencil were far more than tools. They were his escape from a grueling reality and a doorway into a boundless world of imagination. By day, he worked tirelessly. By night, he attended art school, refusing to let go of the thread that tied him to his dream. Yet, time and again, his dream was brought to its knees by reality. As a young man, Walt sensed the limitless potential of animation. Boldly, he founded his very first company in Kansas City, Laugh-O-Gram Films. It began with fiery ambition, but within months collapsed in bankruptcy. Financial troubles, distribution setbacks, and his own lack of business experience dragged him into despair. To make matters worse, he was betrayed by a partner he trusted, a lesson that seared itself into his memory. Desperate for hope, he turned to the banks. But the bankers dismissed his innovative ideas as worthless, slamming the door on him again and again. For Walt, who had wrestled with poverty since childhood, the lack of capital felt like a monstrous shadow swallowing his very passion. Eventually, he pawned off his equipment and, with heavy steps, walked away from the ruins of his office. What had begun as a daring pursuit of his dream ended in crushing failure, leaving his shoulders burdened with hopelessness. Life tested him in brutal ways. One day, so hungry he could no longer bear it, Walt scavenged through a trash bin and ate a discarded piece of bread. Hunger clouded his mind, gnawed at his very spirit. Years later, he would recall that dark moment with a single unforgettable line, "I was hungry, but my imagination was never starved." In those words lies the essence of Walt's resilience, his unshakable belief in imagination, the inner strength that carried him through despair. His failure in Kansas City broke him down, yet also taught him a vital truth that only his own creativity and persistence could unlock survival. Stripped of everything, penniless and weary, Walt vowed to rise again. With only $40 in his pocket, he boarded a train westward to Hollywood, the land of opportunity, the beating heart of cinema. In his worn suitcase lay a few changes of clothes, but more importantly, the one thing failure could never take away: his imagination, unbroken and alive. Hollywood could be his promised land, or another unforgiving battlefield. Carrying the scars of hunger and defeat, Walt Disney stood at the edge of a new beginning, ready to stake everything on one more chance. Through countless failures and bitter disappointments, Walt Disney never let go of the thread of hope. After moving to Hollywood, he joined forces with his brother, Roy Disney, and founded the Disney Brothers Studio. With series like Alice Comedies, it seemed he was finally finding his footing. But soon, betrayal struck again. His distributor stripped away the rights to his characters and left him out in the cold. In that moment, his dreams felt shattered once more. Boarding a train from New York back to Los Angeles, Walt sat in despair, realizing he would have to start all over again from nothing. But fate intervened in that very train ride. In 1928, at the lowest point of his life, a spark of inspiration flashed through Walt's mind like lightning. He remembered a small mouse that used to scamper around the family farm during his boyhood, a clever, scrappy little creature. He breathed imagination into that memory and gave birth to a new character, Mortimer Mouse. His wife, Lillian, gently suggested the name sounded too pompous, and with that, the little mouse was reborn under the name we all know today, Mickey Mouse. At first, no one paid attention to the little mouse. The studio was drowning in debt, and everyone predicted another failure. But Walt refused to give up. He decided to give Mickey something revolutionary: a voice. Determined to harness the brand new technology of synchronized sound, he gambled everything. He borrowed money from friends, even mortgaged his car, and threw himself into the production of Steamboat Willie. Even Roy thought his brother had lost his mind. And then November 18, 1928, the Colony Theater in New York. The lights dimmed, the screen flickered to life, and there he was, Mickey Mouse, whistling and stomping on the deck of a steamboat. The audience erupted in shock and delight. Laughter and cheers filled the theater as the tiny mouse came alive with sound. In that instant, history was made. As Walt walked out of the theater that night, his heart brimmed with certainty. This little mouse will save my life. Mickey Mouse was never just a cartoon. He was Walt himself, a reflection of a man who, despite poverty and endless failure, never abandoned his dream. Mickey's triumph was the light born out of Walt's darkest despair, the living proof of imagination's power to change reality. For children around the world, Mickey brought joy and boundless hope. For adults, he rekindled the spark of eternal youth. With Mickey by his side, Walt Disney stepped into a new golden era, one that would forever transform the history of culture and storytelling. The tiny mouse, Mickey, had pulled Walt Disney back from the edge of bankruptcy, opening the gates to a brand new world of animation. Now hailed as the father of Mickey Mouse, Walt basked in the love of audiences everywhere. But he was never one to rest on success. His imagination never paused, not for a single heartbeat. Always restless, always hungry, his eyes were already fixed on the next horizon, a new frontier in animation. That next dream was nothing short of revolutionary. Some even called it reckless. Walt announced he would create the world's first full-length, full-color animated feature film. His choice? The beloved fairy tale, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, stretched into over 80 minutes of storytelling magic. But when people heard the idea, they mocked him. They called it foolish, insane. At the time, animation was a sideshow short reels shown before the main film. A feature-length cartoon in color. Critics sneered, investors pulled away. Even his wife Lillian and his brother Roy tried to talk him out of it. Industry insiders went further, laughing at the project as Disney's folly. But Walt Disney was a man no ridicule could bend. With unshakable conviction, he mortgaged his home and poured everything he had into the so-called folly. Hundreds of animators were brought in, producing millions of hand-painted cells. To bring characters to life, actors were hired for motion studies. New filming techniques were invented on the spot. Day and night, the studio lights never dimmed. Walt himself slept little, living and breathing this dream, pushing animation to heights no one thought possible. And then, December 21, 1937, the premiere of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. As the film began, doubt dissolved into wonder. Audiences were mesmerized by the vivid colors, enchanted by characters that seemed to breathe and feel, moved to tears by the story's heart. By the final scene, the theater erupted in thunderous applause, a standing ovation that echoed the birth of a new era. Snow White swept the world, shattering box office records and forever rewriting the history of film. At the Academy Awards, Walt Disney was honored with one full-sized Oscar, accompanied by 7 miniature ones, symbolizing the dwarfs. It was a witty tribute, but also a moment of profound recognition. Years of failure, ridicule, and doubt had finally blossomed into innovation, triumph, and respect. The success of Snow White secured Walt's place not only as a beloved artist, but as a visionary entrepreneur. He had proven that imagination could move beyond drawings on paper. It could change the very way the world saw storytelling. Walt Disney was no longer just the father of Mickey Mouse. He was now celebrated across the globe as the great pioneer of animation. With the triumph of Snow White, Walt Disney had rewritten the history of animation. No longer the penniless young dreamer, his name had become synonymous with hope and imagination. Yet his creativity did not stop there. In his mind, a new and even grander vision began to take shape. A magical place where children and parents could laugh and play together, a place built for families, where dreams came alive. Up until then, amusement parks had a reputation for being rowdy, dirty, and mostly aimed at teenagers. But Walt envisioned something different, a safe, clean, enchanting kingdom where people of all ages could step back into childhood wonder. Once again, the world mocked him. Banks refused his loans. The press ridiculed his idea. Even his brother Roy, his closest partner, opposed the plan at first. To most, it was just another of Walt's crazy fantasies. But Walt Disney was not a man who gave up. He believed in his vision with unwavering certainty, and he staked everything to bring it to life. He borrowed against his life insurance, mortgaged his personal home, and poured every ounce of his resources into the dream. In the early 1950s, he purchased a 160-acre orange grove in Anaheim, California. To outsiders, it was nothing more than barren land. But in Walt's eyes, he could already see a castle rising into the sky and hear the laughter of children echoing through a kingdom of magic. To fund construction, he even struck a deal with ABC, creating a television program called Disneyland to raise money for his impossible dream. Finally, on July 17, 1955, that dream opened its gates to the world. Disneyland stood proudly on the once empty fields of Anaheim. Despite years of doubt and ridicule, tens of thousands of people poured through its gates on opening day. Long lines stretched endlessly, faces filled with anticipation and joy. Children held hands with Mickey Mouse and Snow White as fairy tale characters walked among them. Roller coasters roared through the sky, parades filled the streets with color and music, and families stepped straight into a living storybook. For countless visitors, it was truly a day of magic. That day, Disneyland was more than just an amusement park. It was the triumph of imagination over impossibility, a cultural milestone that celebrated the power of family and joy. Through Disneyland, Walt Disney delivered a powerful message to the world: dreaming is never foolish. With faith and effort, dreams can become reality. Its success sparked an entirely new global industry, transforming the idea of theme parks forever. And Walt Disney himself transcended his role as an animation pioneer, becoming the undisputed king of imagination. the creator of dreams, and a legend whose vision continues to inspire generations. From a poor boy to the undisputed king of dreams, Walt Disney rose higher than anyone could have imagined. Even after the colossal success of Disneyland, wealth was never his obsession. Perhaps it was because, as a child, he had once found happiness in nothing more than a scrap of paper and a pencil. He chose instead to pour his vast fortune and influence into protecting the dreams of children and nurturing the imagination of generations to come. Walt's life was not just about achieving success, it was about showing the world how to use the magic of making dreams real for the greater good. Walt Disney cared deeply about child welfare and creative education. He gave generously to children's facilities, visited hospitals, and personally drew characters to gift smiles to sick children. Inspiring and protecting the pure imagination of the young was at the heart of his mission. Through the creative worlds he built, Walt wanted every child to live without fear of dreaming, to grow up believing the impossible was within reach. To him, entertainment was never merely about amusement. It was about planting seeds of limitless possibility in the hearts of the future. He supported countless schools and projects, determined to help children learn and grow through imagination. Walt firmly believed that imagination was the most powerful tool for building the future. Disneyland itself became more than an amusement park. It stood as a symbol of optimism and innovation, a space where tomorrow felt full of promise. And through television programs like Disneyland and the Mickey Mouse Club, he pioneered a new kind of content that blended education with entertainment, delighting children while teaching them at the same time. These efforts left a lasting imprint, inspiring countless young hearts to dream boldly and to create their own paths. More than half a century has passed since Walt Disney left this world, yet his legacy still breathes with life. The characters he created have become timeless friends to children across the globe. Disneyland continues to gift families unforgettable memories, while his studio, ever innovative, pushes the boundaries of storytelling and technology to this very day. Walt showed us the courage to face failure, the persistence to chase a dream, and the truth that personal success can enrich the entire world. His story remains a shining reminder that with imagination, resilience, and heart, even the wildest of dreams can change humanity forever. Walt Disney's life leaves us with a profound question. When you stand before walls of poverty, failure, and endless rejection, will you still hold on to your dream? Despite ridicule and defeat, he never let go of his greatest treasure, his imagination. And with it, he created a magic so powerful that a little mouse changed the world. No matter how overwhelming your struggles may feel today, hidden within them may lie the seed of imagination strong enough to transform the future. Walt Disney never gave up. The question is, will you? Are you ready to trust your imagination and bravely chase the dream that belongs only to you? We hope today's Role Models of Hope episode on Walt Disney has given you inspiration and courage for your own journey. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a spark of hope today. And in our next episode, we'll meet another hero who reminds us that together we can keep hope alive and become light for one another. Until then, never lose courage and never stop dreaming.